If you work as a manufacturing facilities engineer, installing a new piece of equipment can be as complex as the machinery itself. From prep work to alignment and testing, it's your team's job to put it all together. That's why it's good to have Grainger on your side. With industrial-grade products and next-day delivery, Grainger helps ensure you have everything you need close at hand through every step of the installation. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Chat with Buzzy, Haydel coming up in 15 minutes. We talked a lot of pitching with Glenn West. I want to talk about the LSU offense some with Buzzy, so we'll do that coming up at 2:15. We got some news today. I actually thought we already had this news, but I'm an idiot because we didn't have this news, but now we have the news, so I'll tell you the news. Brett McMurphy got the news, so I'm going to read the news from Brett Murphy to tell you the news. LSU and Clemson will kick off Saturday, August the 30th. That is Labor Day weekend at 6:30 Central Time. That'll be a 7:30 local kickoff in Clemson, South Carolina. Game will be broadcast on ABC. And what does that mean? Well, it means basically this. That Saturday, you're going to have big noon kickoff in the shoe, Texas and Ohio State, the defending national champs. A Final Four team in Texas, Arch Manning at quarterback, all the pomp and circumstance. My sincere guess is that College Game Day will be there for Lee Corso's final broadcast. He'll do his last headgear pick where he did his first headgear pick, even though Fox has the broadcast rights to that game. But that game is at 11 a.m. Central Time. And that will give way to Alabama at Florida State at 3:30. And that will give way to LSU at Clemson at 7:30 Eastern Time, 6:30 Central Time. And everybody in the nation is going to be watching that. And everybody in the nation was watching LSU and Florida State 4 years ago or 3 years ago, whatever that was. Everybody in the nation was watching LSU and Florida State 2 years ago in Orlando because those were Sunday games. Everybody in the nation was watching LSU and USC last year because those were three straight Sunday openers for LSU. With with Labor Day coming the following day. So everybody was watching. And everybody's going to be watching this one too, because you're going to have a pair of likely top 5 teams, a pair of top 5 Heisman contenders, a rematch of 2019's national championship game in a college home stadium on network television in prime time where there is really no competition for it. And so you got the eyes of the nation staring right at you. And I can't help but sit here and think that, you're either going to emerge from that game with a Heisman frontrunner and a trending national championship pick, or the laughingstock of the country, because you will have lost 6 straight season openers. I don't see a middle ground here. Even if you lose by getting a field goal blocked in overtime. Lose like you did against Florida State in the Superdome, which was a crazy way to lose a game. And the closest you can be. I still think you're a laughingstock. Because everybody's watching these games. You don't bury these at 2 o'clock on that Saturday when everybody's watching their own teams. Everybody's games are going to be done by the time we kick off the third quarter in Clemson. And it's 8:30 p.m. Central Time, and you're the only show in town. So everybody will be watching. I would imagine that'll be Fowler and Herb Street. And you got 2 options. The option that you've had for 5 years, or the option that you kind of had. These were not season openers, but it'll be similar to, Oregon was a season opener. I take that back. It'll be similar to Oregon and Dallas, where everybody looked and goes, whoa. And then Virginia Tech in 2007 when game day was in Baton Rouge and Frank Beamer's team came in here and LSU, I don't know if I've ever seen an LSU team play a more complete game than the one we saw that day. But because even if LSU wins 17-16, it'll be a massive statement win. But if LSU loses 17-16, you've blown it again. And everyone will know. It is as consequential a season opener as LSU has played in some time. And we said that about LSU and USC last year, but I don't think anybody really thought that LSU and USC were legitimate national title contenders last year. Like, USC was trying to rebuild an abysmal defense. So was LSU. LSU was losing the Heisman Trophy winner, 2 first-round wide receivers, brand new defensive coordinator. Like, I'm sure there are people in Baton Rouge that felt like LSU could win the national championship, but I don't think anybody nationally was really thinking about that. How many ESPN best newcomers lists and preseason prognostications, how many of those do I have to? A lot of people are picking LSU. Josh Pate, 24/7 Sports, just put out his post-spring top 25. Clemson, number 1. LSU, I think, number 7. Either way, those are title contending numbers. So I don't think anybody thought LSU was contending for a title in Brian Kelly's first year. Certainly not in his second year. Third year, I just laid out. Like, this is everybody's suggestion to be Brian Kelly's best team at LSU. This is the year that LSU stepped up to the plate from an NIL perspective. This is the year you've got a Heisman potential front runner coming back, which doesn't happen very often. And it's all right there for everyone in the country to lock in on. It's a big, big deal. We've gone over the scheduling philosophy time and time again. And if you'd like to hear Verge Osbury talk about it, you can do that on Matt's show after further review. He sat down with Matt yesterday and had a conversation about scheduling. There isn't one that looks like this. Clemson coming up on the schedule. Yeah, you're playing SMU coming up, and yeah, you're going to Houston and playing. Those are Power 5 teams, ACC, Big 12. But at Clemson, top 10 matchup, primetime ABC, only show in town, you're going to struggle to find me a more impactful opener dating back to 2011 with Oregon. I mean, we had high hopes for LSU in 2016 with Leonard Fournette, Malachi Dupree, and Tre'Davious White, and Kendall Beckwith, and Arden Key. And talented group. Went up to Lambeau, got beat. But this is that on another level. Nobody thought Wisconsin was winning the national championship. Nobody had Wisconsin's quarterback as a Heisman frontrunner or a potential top 10 pick in the draft like Cade Klubnik is. And I think there's probably 50% of the fan base that thinks this is the coolest thing ever. And there's probably 50% of the fan base that looks at this and goes, why are we beating our head against the wall doing this? It doesn't really matter how you feel. It doesn't matter if you're in that 50% camp or that 50% camp. The fact of the matter is it's coming and it's prime time. And you're going to be out there for the nation to either praise and roundly respect or point and laugh at. Those are the stakes. It's more forgiving in a 12-team playoff than it is in a 4-team playoff or a 2-team BCS. So your season's not going to end if everybody points and laughs at you. But you better walk a high wire from there until Thanksgiving, because there's not a lot of forgiveness after that. And you still got to go to Oxford, and you still got to go to Tuscaloosa, and A&M's still coming here, and you still got to go to Norman. You still got to play Florida. It's a lot. Should be fun. We'll get there when we get there, as they say. Got about 2 months until SEC Media Days and about 2.5 months until LSU reports for fall camp, and then we'll really ratchet things up. But LSU and Clemson, for those that missed the top of this segment, 6:30 Central Time on ABC from Little Death Valley over there in Clemson, South Carolina. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, we'll talk some LSU offense. Buzzy, Haydel, national champion, member of the LSU Sports Radio Network. We'll do all that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every car that's on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. 10 years, 100,000-mile warranty. 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. That's as good as you're going to find in the industry. Talking about 3 years of complimentary valet maintenance. That's as good as you're going to find in the industry. You buy that vehicle and it's time to get some maintenance done. You got to get the oil change, got to deal with the wiper blades, wiper fluid, you got to deal with the air filter, all that. They'll come get your car, bring it right to the dealership. They leave you a loaner. If you've got things to do on that day, go do them. When they're done, that complimentary maintenance, they bring the car right back to you. It can't be any easier than that. It's just part of the experience of being a Genesis driver. When I say Genesis Baton Rouge, you should think, oh, luxury vehicle. And when I say luxury vehicle, don't just immediately disqualify yourself in terms of price. Just go see. They're an airline at PQ, right across from Women's Hospital. Go see them. Chat with one of their brand ambassadors. See if it's reasonable for you. Get behind the wheel. See the difference. You'll notice pretty quickly. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. You can find all of that inventory online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Busy show here on this Tuesday. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Chatted with Sharif Ishak in the first hour, talking some Saints. Had Glenn West on and go 24/7. Talk a little LSU pitching. I want to talk some LSU offense. Our next guest, Buzzy Haydel, national champion, member of the LSU Sports Radio Network. Good enough to give us a little bit of time here. Buzz, I haven't talked to you on the air since you came back from Augusta. I want to talk about that briefly before we do baseball. Any celeb sightings on the 10th hole this year?
Yeah, there was a few. The one that's going to be most notable, since we are on a sports radio talk show, it was Ken Griffey Jr., which I'm sure got a lot of play just because he was there as part of the media and taking pictures. But it was really neat to literally have him I'd gone to the bathroom during a break and I was walking right behind him. It took everything I had not to tap him on the shoulder and just tell him he was my childhood hero and tell him, I literally wanted to be him as a 10-year-old baseball player. So, but that was a cool one. Of course, all the other sports, people that are always there. Eli Manning was there, and Eli had his, he's a new member there. So he had his green jacket on, and Roger Federer. Let's see, anybody else? Just a lot of the same old crew, but Ken Griffey Jr. was a new one that was, again, pretty cool. Brought me back to my childhood when I saw him.
So I was listening to some podcasts after the Masters ended, and I called it the best golf tournament I'd ever watched. Were you anywhere around 18 when Rory finally won it? I know that it was an absolute sea of humanity. So where were you when the final putt dropped?
Yeah, so, I don't know if for anybody that doesn't know, I work hole 10, and that's really the hole I work every year. And it can be anywhere on 10. It can be at the tee box, I can be in the fairway, I can be up at the green. On Sunday, I was actually at the green, and then our responsibilities end once the final group comes through. So I know everybody's going to think this is probably crazy because it was it was Rory McIlroy's grand slam. He was looking to conquer it, and all these historic moments was about to happen, and one would think that I would stick around to watch that, but we're there for so long, and it's a long week. So when they come through and that final group gets through number 10, we hightail it out of there, get on the road, and try to make it back home at a decent hour. And so no, I was nowhere near the 18 hole or the course for that matter, as we were 2 hours in. 8.5, 9-hour ride back home.
So they've got you covered, because I know that if the playoff would have gone to 10 if they had tied the first playoff hole, they got you covered for that. You don't have any responsibility there.
Correct. Hole 18 takes over for all playoffs. All playoff holes. So exactly, yeah. And there's been two for sure that I can think of that have ended on 10 in years past. Adam Scott, obviously with the putt, and then of course the Bubba Watson hook shot out of the trees. So there's definitely been a few Masters won on 10, but no, I would not be a part of that.
All right, that's all we need to know. That's been your Augusta Minute here as Buzzy Haydel joins the show. Let's talk some LSU offense. Buzz, I don't have a good reason for this, and I doubt you do, but I'll toss it to you. LSU has been pretty damn good on offense in conference play at home, and on the road they've been bad. I mean, they were bad in College Station for a lot of that weekend. They were terrible at Auburn. It was cold in Oklahoma, but they didn't swing the bats worth a flip up there either. You have any reason for that?
Your guess is as good as mine, Hunt. I was just looking at some numbers. Other than Stanfield, Curiel, and Dickinson, nobody else is hitting above 300 in the SEC. I mean, you can almost say over the last 2 weekends, or last couple weekends, talking about Tennessee and Arkansas. I mean, they didn't swing it very good in that first game. Of course, the bats lit up a little bit as the weekend went on in both those series, but no real, I guess other than the home field advantage is a real thing, and the crowd, we feed off of that, and it's, you get yourself in better counts maybe. Pitchers struggle a little bit on the opposing team, and so when you get yourself in good counts, which possibly can happen, again, I don't have any stats to validate that, but get yourself in better counts and pitchers get shaken up a little bit with the home crowd, maybe that can be a reason why they're hitting better at home. But, it's funny because, back in 2007, we had, it was Paul Maneri's first year. Speaking of Paul Maneri, they'll go on to face South Carolina this weekend. But Paul Maneri's having much similar year at South Carolina like he did in 2007 at LSU. But we actually were better on the road, and we were not a good team that year, but I remember going on the road and beat Mississippi State. I think we went on the road and beat Arkansas. We had won a game at South Carolina when we had no business then winning a game. So my point is, it just depends. Like that year was almost like the pressure got off of us when we got out of Alex Box and was able just to go to somewhere else and not have the pressure of the crowd, if that makes any sense. But look, the team, they're the number one team in the country, and I've had people ask me, do you think that's valid? Do you think they're the number one team in the country? I mean, you tell me somebody else that deserves to be over them at this point. I mean, I don't think there's a clear number one. Do I see a few little holes still in this LSU team? Sure. But I like them. I like them just as well as anybody in the country right now.
Yeah, that was my point yesterday on the show. I was like, look, they've got their issues, but everybody does, and they are good enough to beat everybody. Like, I don't know if they will or not. I don't know if they'll get out of their own regional. They're good enough to do whatever they want. It's just a matter of how well they play. And that's the deal. Like, everybody in the SEC is taking their shots, every single team, including now Texas, who's lost 2 weekends in a row. What do you feel like is the aspect of this team that gives you the most confidence?
Well, the 1 and 2 guy. I mean, when you go back in the history of I guess you could go really anybody who's won a national championship, but let's just stick to LSU since that's who we are. Every national championship team at LSU, I mean, look, it's a college team. It's not a professional team. So it's not like at some point you're going to have a hole somewhere that you just got to battle through and figure out a way to win, even though you don't have, 27 players that can all do it for you. And I mean, but why I say that is because if I was being so particular, yeah, you'd like to have another bullpen guy or two. The Gavin Guidry injury is a big one, I think, for LSU. But they're finding a way to get it done. I mean, their 1-2, Anderson and Eyanson, is as good a 1-2 in the country, if not the best in the country. So, you put that as a 10 on the 1 to 10 scale, right? And then you figure out, the Sunday deal is you just got to kind of figure it out. They're trying to do that right now with, okay, if Evans doesn't throw one of the first 2 games, he starts on Sunday. If he throws in one of the first 2 games and is extended, then I guess you go to Shores or a Connor Ware on Sunday, and then you piece it together. But the main thing I like with this team, their offense is good enough. I mean, you're going to have your ups and downs. It's college baseball. There's the guys on the other team get scholarships too, and they've got they're good pitchers, and they're trying to get you out. So offensively, you're going to have your ups and downs. I think they've been pretty good all year, and they can win with that offense. Pitching wise, your 1 and 2 is great. I'd like to find another guy out of the bullpen, whether that be a Rizzi or one of the left-handers in Primo or Cooper Williams, or a Connor Ware step up. Somebody else needs to step up out of that bullpen. But if you look in the history of time, back to my original thought of LSU, there's always somebody that you probably didn't think was going to be an important factor throughout the course of a year to step up and do something big down the stretch that helps you to a national championship. Who's that going to be this year? Who knows? But if they want to win it, somebody's going to have to do something special, particularly from the pitching side, and I think particularly out of the bullpen.
One question I want to ask you about offense, because we've seen Jay Johnson, we've seen him have very different teams, and this team's got its own personality, but I don't have statistics to back this up. They are showing bunt and bunting, sacrificing and squeezing safety and suicide more than they have in the last 3 years combined, I think. Why do you think that is, and how do you feel about it?
Well, I am not going to be critical of Jay Johnson. He's obviously a national championship coach. He gets paid a lot of money to make the decisions that I'm glad I don't have to. With that being said, I think the same thing, Hunt, and I'll tell you, there's times where I forgot what game it was, but Daniel Dickinson was hitting the cover. I mean, he was hitting balls all over the field. I mean, balls are coming off the bat 100 plus miles an hour. I mean, he was like 3 for 3 at the time. It was 2 outs. He had runners in scoring position. It's like later in the game, and I think the game was kind of out of hand. And he tried to lay down a drag bunt, for a hit with runners in scoring position with 2 outs. And I'm thinking, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. This guy's hitting as well as anybody on the team at the time, and you see, and look, I saw it these last couple weekends where guys in scoring position. I'm not a big fan of it. Again, this is not questioning Jay Johnson. He's the coach; he can do what he wants. I'm not a fan of guys in scoring position trying to lay down a bunt. I mean, especially a guy at second base and laying down a bunt. I mean, maybe at third you try to lay down a bunt with maybe a little semi shift on, or the third baseman's playing deep and you can steal a run or something. Okay, I guess I can see that possibly, although I still like swinging the bat. You got a guy at second base with 2 outs, you got to drive that run in. What is the bunt going to do? Just get him over to third so you can pass the baton on to the next guy. So I don't have a good reason for it either, other than maybe Johnson thinks they don't have as much power or pop in this lineup, and so he's really trying to figure out a way to manufacture runs, or maybe they really show how well they can do it in practice, how well they can bunt, so he thinks it's a weapon in the games. I'm all about being able to bunt. Don't get me wrong. I'm all about a sacrifice bunt from time to time, getting runners over, guys at the bottom of the lineup. But when you get to that 2, 3, 4, 5 hole hitter, I mean, I want you to get the foot down and be ready to drive the baseball extremely hard somewhere. I'm not about laying down the bunt in the middle of that heart of that lineup. And I do feel like I agree with you, Hunt. We see it a little too often with LSU. I don't know why. I wish I had a good answer for you.
You were on that 07 team you referenced. That was Pulmonari's first team here. The 08 team obviously got hot and won 24 in a row. The 09 team was a national championship team. But the 07 team was not great, did not make the NCAA tournament. How do you think he's handling being 2-25 18 years later? Or 5-22, I should say.
5-22. And listen, I mean, short of LSU just bus breaking down and not getting to the stadium for this matchup coming up, I mean, it's probably going to be 5 and whatever that
25.
Is. Yeah, I mean, it's I think he's handling it well, but I can tell you right now, he's not happy about it. And, I was talking to another buddy the other day about, as bad as that 07 team was, I mean, and this had a lot to do with Jared Bradford on that team, don't get me wrong, but we still figured out a way to win 12 games. We tied a game too. I think we went 12, 17 and 1 that year. And
tied Kentucky. That was my freshman year. I was there, and the umpires did a terrible job.
Right. So, I mean, not that 12 wins is something to be proud of, but, I mean, nowadays that would almost get you in a regional. 12, 13 wins almost get you in a regional these days. But my point is that was a bad year, and we figured out a way to win 12 games. They're liable to only figure out a way to win 5 games in conference play. And, I mean, a lot of it's ugly, too. I mean, if you watch some of those Auburn games last weekend, that was not pretty. That's not Pulmonary coach baseball teams, I can tell you. And look, he got there. He obviously, hopefully, I would think would get at least another year or two to get his guys in there, figure it out. But I mean, I think coach is definitely going to have to figure out the new way of college baseball, which is you kind of got to get your hands dirty a little bit and be willing to steal people away from other teams. I mean, that's just the nature of the business. It's not illegal. It's you got to go get players that can do it, and that's getting in the transfer portal, that's figuring out NIL money, that's doing a lot of things that he didn't have to do for all of his coaching career. And again, that's just the way of the business now. But I think he's handling it well. I just hope they give him enough time. And I know in this business you don't have all the time in the world, but I do hope they give him enough time to figure this out, because you can look at the track record, Hunt. I mean, you know this. Go look at his record everywhere he's ever been. He's always won. Why would South Carolina be any different? Yeah, the league's tough. It's always been tough. It's really tough now. You just got to go get good players. You're at a good university. You're at a good spot, a good location. You just got to go get the players, and you got to have them buy into the system and win baseball games. That's all there is to it. But I'm pulling for him. Always do. Always will. And I hope. I don't know that this weekend's going to get any better for him. So that's probably not going to end his first year at South Carolina very well. But we'll see how it goes moving forward.
We will. We appreciate the time, Buzz. We'll see you soon.
All right, thanks, Hunt.
Buzzy Haydel, former LSU Tiger national champion, member of the LSU Sports Radio Network. It's just, as far as Paul Mainieri goes, it's an awkward spot because they've been awful. I tweeted about this. What we watched from South Carolina on Thursday and Friday of last week, and that's when their series wrapped up. They played a doubleheader on Friday. Was just awful baseball because, I mean, I tweeted this out, like they tried to steal a base with runners on first and third and one out in a game where they were tied and got thrown out. And then they missed a cutoff man, which allowed an Auburn guy to get an extra 90 feet. They missed a tag. They hit a guy through a wild pitch. Just sloppy, bad baseball. And then you can't get anybody out the last two games of that series, just giving up just lasers all over the field from that Auburn team. And what coaches never dealt with is now when this thing ends, it's not like, okay, you're in our program, we've got the foundation laid, go to summer ball, and then come on back and we'll get things ramped up in the fall, and our high school class will come in. He's going to have multiple guys that he thinks are going to be on his team next year walk into his office and go, okay, I need $90,000. Like, I need that now or I'm leaving. And I don't know if he's got it or not. And he never had to do that when he was at LSU. And you're going to have a mad dash of, I mean, Jay Johnson, I know, is flying all over the Southeast, all over the country in the month of June and July, getting guys out of the transfer portal and visiting draftable guys. And it's just it's chaos that Paul Mainieri's never dealt with before. And all the while this is going on, you're working for a guy that didn't hire you. And you've got the worst season in the program's history on your resume. Like, it's just, it's an awkward spot. And I'm like Buzzy, I'm pulling for Coach Mainieri as long as LSU's not playing him and LSU's in town. And I'm sincerely hope he goes 5-25 this year because that'll be good news for LSU. But it's just something he's never dealt with, and it's a whole new world. And a lot of guys in his generation, a lot of guys have had a lot of success like him. Nick Saban, Mike Krzyzewski, I mean, they're not contemporaries as far as age, I don't think, but they're pretty close to Jay Wright. Just like, see ya. Chip Kelly, see ya. And I don't know how he's going to handle it. The other piece to this is I covered Paul Mainieri in 2011, 12, 13, 14. 4 years. And we talked to him after every game at home. And even like random midweek loss or a Sunday series loss where they've won the series, they lose on Sunday, like those happen over a 56-game season. Like you lose games in baseball. He took every loss so hard. Like the demeanor was so different when we'd go in for a loss as opposed to a win. And I just can't imagine that he's internally okay with this. And the part of it that I keep sticking to is like, if he's the same guy he was 10 years ago when I was covering him, 15 years ago when I was covering him, like, I don't think he could deal with it. Like, I think he would just be completely fed up. And the other side of that is if he can handle going 5-25 and it doesn't feel like it used to, does he still have the drive to get it done? I don't know. I haven't talked to Coach once this year. Not once. So I'm just speaking from pure speculation, but I know him okay from covering for 4 years, and he's been on the show a few times and certainly chatted him up in Omaha in 23 when we were there. And like, I know Coach pretty well. It doesn't feel right. And I I don't know what the resolution's going to be, but it's not really anybody's concern in purple and gold down here. The concern for purple and gold is to go to Columbia and beat South Carolina as badly as Auburn did. That's basically the goal here. So we'll see. We got 30 minutes left to go. Come back with us, Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Earlier today, Jay Johnson met with the media, and the media asked him about Cade Anderson and kind of his availability, and Jay Johnson answered saying that Anderson threw his normally scheduled bullpen on Monday, and he's ready to go this weekend. I talked about this a little bit yesterday, but I'll kind of bring it back up and refresh the topic. I was petrified on Friday night, just petrified, because while I have full confidence in Anthony Eyanson handling quote-unquote ace duties, like Eyanson and Anderson are the backbone of this team now. With Cowan as a reliever, like that's the backbone of the team. And if you lose half of that, you are severely compromised. And my outlook for this team in the postseason would be completely different if Cade Anderson were significantly compromised or hurt. So when Jay Johnson comes to the podium on early Saturday morning after that Friday night game that went till 1:15 in the morning, and it's almost 2 o'clock, and we're at the box, and he says that Cade's fine, no issues at all, checked him out, he's good. I'll be very honest with you. Like, I didn't really take that at face value because Jay Johnson has a way of handling injuries, and he intentionally hides some things, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I, as a media member, don't feel like I'm entitled to know who's hurt, and certainly as a fan, I don't feel like I'm entitled to know who's not feeling great. That's up to the medical staff and Jay Johnson and keeping that wherever they want to. I'm completely okay with it. But because of the way that Jay has handled things for 4 years, like when I hear that, I don't really think twice about it. Like, it's just like, okay, well, we'll see. We will see. And I don't think, though he has sometimes hidden some things, I don't think he's going to come out and overtly just lie. So for him to say all good on Friday night, Saturday morning, whatever you want to call it, and then to come out and say he threw his bullpen yesterday, like, I've been lied to about injuries. Les Miles lied about injuries. The one I talk about all the time is P.J. Lonergan, the center on the 2011 team. He's like, Les Miles like, he practiced and he'll play in the game, and he didn't even travel to Knoxville. So, like, Les Miles did just lie about it, and that's fine too. Whatever you want to do, I don't care about that. I don't feel entitled as a media member to know exactly how every player on the team is feeling and what the strategy is to handle them if they're not. Now, Paul Maneri on the flip side is always going to tell you exactly what the injuries is, what the medical procedure is to help it, what the timetable is, and whether or not he's going to return. Like, he told you everything. He's a walking HIPAA violation. Jay Johnson, not like that. But at this point, I can sit here on Tuesday and feel pretty good about where Cade Anderson is. I'll feel better when I see him out on the mound. Now, I said this yesterday, and I stand by this. Because South Carolina does not have an ace, and you don't have to worry about who they are pitching, their whole pitching staff is a combination of not very good pitchers. I would personally throw the bullpen on Thursday, throw Cade Anderson on Friday, and Anthony Eyanson on Saturday. My opinion is you need to win 2 games this weekend. It doesn't matter if you win the first one and the second one, or the second one and the third one, or the first one and the third one, whatever. It doesn't matter. You got to win 2. And so I would keep those guys on rest if it was me. It's not me, and I don't think Jay Johnson is going to do that. Now, I was also asked on Twitter earlier, do you think they'll take it easy on Cade Anderson this weekend? And my answer to that is no. There either is no issue, and he's ready to go out there and pitch full on 115 pitches, go, or there is an issue, and he doesn't need to pitch at all. Because what you can't do is compromise him and go out there and deal with a guy that's injured. If it's a cramp, there's no issue for the cramp from last Friday to this Thursday. He's fine. And if that's really the case, then there is no issue. You don't baby him. You let him go. Now, if it's 19-1, like Florida did to him, and it's the 6th inning and he's thrown 80 pitches and you want to pull him and put DJ Primo out there for the last 3 outs, great. That's awesome. But I expect fully that Cade Anderson and Anthony Eyanson will pitch Thursday and Friday respectively, and will be on their full allotment of pitches. Anderson will go 115. Eyanson will go 115. You sincerely hope that your offense does exactly what Florida and Auburn did to this atrocious pitching staff at South Carolina and rolls up 15, 18 runs, and you can sit those guys a little bit earlier. But that's something that unfolds during the game. You're talking about just a plan. The plan is to work it as normal, I'm sure. Now, I would significantly change the plan the next week depending on how things go in Hoover, and Jay Johnson may do that. We did see him limit Paul Skeen's pitch count in Hoover against Arkansas. We've seen that at times. Sometimes you go to Hoover and you got work to do. Like last year, LSU's trying to make sure they get in the tournament. So you're throwing Gage Jump on short rest last year, and you're getting Luke Holman out there last year, and you're making sure that you win some games so you get in the NCAA tournament. This year, you don't have that issue. You potentially don't have that issue as far as seeding goes when you get to Hoover if you take care of your business against South Carolina. Now, you lose 2 out of 3 this weekend, you got to go to Hoover locked and loaded and ready to win some games. But if you win 2 out of 3 or sweep South Carolina, you can change the way you operate a little bit. And I'd probably throw Cade Anderson and Anthony Eyanson in the Friday game, the first one you play, throw them each for 55, 60 pitches and tell them to sit down. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But if we're talking about the bridge that we're approaching, which is South Carolina, I would hold them for a day. I don't think Jay's going to do it. You're going to see Cade Anderson on Thursday, Anthony Eyanson on Friday. You'll see him for their full allotment, and we'll see where the die fall. It's more so on the backs of the offense to make sure that they handle South Carolina's pitching staff so you don't really have to worry about overextending pitchers or how much rest they're on. You just get them out of the game because the offense did their job. But that is something that we'll find out in about 55 hours from right now, coming up from Columbia. Take a timeout, come back and close it out. It's a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website. You know what a captive program is? You might have an idea if you're a CFO, a risk manager, or business owner. But if you pay a significant amount for insurance annually and you're just looking for an alternative solution that may help, the Highland Insurance Group is not a magic bullet. They're not just going to come in and knock 20% off of your premium annually. But there are creative solutions, and captives is one. I've spent 7 years in insurance, dealt with some captives towards the end of my career there, and I always felt like captives were the future of insurance, especially for those that pay a significant amount. If you may fit and you're not really sure what the next step might be, Highland Insurance Group can help you. They deal in captives every single day. So contact Jonathan Carver and his team. Say, hey, look, this is our situation. Can you talk to us about a captive? And he'd be happy to sit down with you and discuss how that might look for you and your business. It's the Highland Insurance Group. You can find them online at HighlandIG.com. They're based here in Baton Rouge, can help you out wherever you are in the state of Louisiana. So no matter where you're listening to me, you can still contact them. They can always be available to help you. It's the Highland Insurance Group. Find them online, HighlandIG.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Join us on Friday, May 23rd at the South Stadium Club in Tiger Stadium for delicious food, drinks, and the ultimate allocated 100-bottle bourbon raffle hosted by Ducks Unlimited. Plus, participate in live and silent auctions and raffles for rare bottles. Sign up at 1045ESPN.com for a chance to win $100 of packs of raffle tickets and the grand prize $500 raffle pack. For tickets and more information, visit dubourbonraffle.com.
Just found a rather disturbing tweet on my timeline from the folks over at WAFB across the street.
Yeah?
This is the headline. I'll just read it straightforward.
Okay.
Police find naked man in Lowe's display shed with Vaseline and phone.
Oh.
That's not great.
Yeah, that's not good.
Sometimes the news is impressive. I can remember.
That sounds like a Florida story, but I guess Louisiana can have stuff. We have stuff like that too. Yeah.
Plenty of that. Some days the news is more interesting than others, I guess, is the point of that story. If you'd like to read more about that, you can head over to WFB.com and check it out. We'll probably leave it right there. A lot to do on tomorrow's show. Koki Riley is traveling tomorrow to Columbia, so we'll talk to him on Friday from Columbia, South Carolina. But we have I'm going to do 2 more SEC baseball power rankings. I don't think, could do one regional week.
Yeah, you could.
I think it would be a waste of time to do one after regional week.
I would agree.
Because you would have a lot of teams that would be out. But I think I can do 2. I can do 3 more. Tomorrow, SC tournament week, and then before the regionals start. And that'll probably be it. And then after that, I'll go back and juxtapose that with the first list and see how we did. Can already tell there are going to be some significant issues. Auburn's going to be an issue for me. A&M's going to be a huge issue for me. Florida was going to be a huge issue, not so much anymore. But I don't know what the first one said, so I'll go back and check that out. But that's a lot to do on tomorrow's show, so looking forward to doing all of that. We got one thing to do on this show, and that's by Take It or Leave It.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Alrighty, first one here. The Pit. Take it or leave it.
The Pit, I'm going to take it.
I'll take it.
My wife and I finished it. First season of The Pit. For those unfamiliar, it's about the emergency room in Pittsburgh. They go through one shift. Every show in the first season is an hour. And it's a triage and emergency room setting. And it's very good. My wife is in healthcare, so she was fascinated by the entire thing. I thought it was good as well.
Does she watch it and say, oh, that's not how it actually works? Or
there were a couple of things she had some issues with. She spent time as a NICU nurse and was actually the head nurse in the NICU for a little bit there. So she's got some experience on all of that. But I think the overwhelming response from the healthcare community has been that it's the most realistic healthcare show ever. Like, you've got your ERs and all that kind of stuff. But what about the hospital?
Grey's Anatomy?
Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, that one's not realistic.
Yeah, I've never seen it. But this one apparently was. And I can tell you this, and we talked about this, I think, when we started watching it, but now we've seen it. We've seen the season finale. Very good. There's a season 2 coming that we'll certainly watch. I'm not cut out for very many jobs. The head ER doctor, where someone's on death's door every 45 seconds while they walk in there, that's not going to be for me.
Yeah,
just not a good spot for me to be.
We've learned that there's not a whole lot in your toolbox there, Hunt.
It was an amazing accomplishment that I changed 2 light bulbs yesterday.
Yes.
No, only changed one. Changed 1 light bulb yesterday. That was a big undertaking at my house.
All right, next one. Ryder Cup captain Keegan Bradley hosted a team dinner last week in Philadelphia leading up to the Truist Championship. And 2 of those in attendance, Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka, they both were invited and attended. Bryson and Brooksy on the Ryder Cup team. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it because I don't need Koepka. I don't think he's any good.
Yeah.
So the U.S. Ryder Cup team's in trouble. It looks like a bad team. And so for that reason, I probably need Bryson. I will hold my nose and take him on the team. I don't know who wants to play with him. You're going to have to find somebody that'll do that, but I need all the good players I can get, considering that Spieth's pretty mediocre at this point. Cantley's not playing worth a flip. Like some of your stalwarts, JT's been better, but you don't have Dustin Johnson anymore. I don't really want Brooks anymore. It's just you got guys that could potentially make the team that aren't very good. It's just it's a tough scene, so I'll take Bryson. I don't need Brooks.
All right, next one here. A little bit of sad news, Hunt. Morris the alligator, most famous for his role in Happy Gilmore, passed away. Was at least 80 years old. They don't know exactly how old, but he could be even 90 or 100 apparently. But the Everglades Open will never be the same. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. What about the Waterbury Open?
Well, yeah, but he wasn't at. Was he at? I thought he was just.
Was it the Tour Championship?
No, it was the Everglades. It was the tournament in Florida with his caddy was bathing in the pond.
That's right.
Yeah.
Obviously that's it's tough for Morris. I find it hard to believe you can train an alligator for movie acting.
Apparently you can.
Now we don't have to. We can just CGI him in that bad boy and get on to moving. But that's an iconic. It's got to be the most famous alligator in movie history, right?
I think so. Yeah, probably.
I don't know of any others that had significant roles. So
hard to come up with on the top of
one got cooked by Billy. What's the linebacker? Adam Sandler.
Oh, Waterboy.
The Waterboy's mom.
Yeah, that's true.
When Vicky Valancourt came over. But that's really all I can think of. All right, that's it for Tuesday edition. You missed any? Catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Hunt Palmer Show, where you can find us. Matt's going to drive you home next on After Further Review. Have a great Tuesday evening. We're back tomorrow, same time, same place, for a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.